We lose again. 12-6. We lose to the Mets. Everyone called this our little brother. Who are they now, right? And the Yankees, I don't even feel they could beat anybody. Can't beat Toronto. We've surrendered first place. The Mets now are just outclassing us. So I don't think there's really very many teams other than maybe Colorado, Jake, that I think we can handle. We've lost 6 games in a row. Jazz homer today, Austin Wells, Volpe, right? They all homered. Nobody cared. Those homers were just irrelevant. It felt like a scrimmage, felt like spring training. And Carlos Rodon, who's been great all year, is now shelled. 5 innings pitched, 6 earned runs, gave up 2 homers. And Anthony Volpe postgame, I think this is what people really care about, is how are these guys going to take it and what are they going to do about it? How are you going to fix it? How are you going to change it? Because we're watching this. This is supposed to be entertainment, right? And technically, this podcast is supposed to be covering an entertaining bit. We're supposed to be watching a team that spends $300 million a year to put talent out on the field. Now, mind you, we have nothing to do with who's out there, right? This is all Brian Cashman's job, and he is hired by none other than Hal Steinbrenner. He's the judge, jury, and executioner. And Aaron Boone, who was hired after Girardi, what are all these guys going to do to fix this problem? Anthony Volpe postgame says nothing changes. Whether it's a 6-game win streak or a 6-game losing streak, we play every night to win. You wouldn't know this, obviously, by watching him. He says it pisses you off, but we're not going to change our work or anything like that. And by the way, I actually haven't seen anyone on this team pissed off. Jake, I don't know about you. I have not seen that. I haven't seen a single player. The only player I've seen be mad the past 3 weeks, and I'm being serious, is Ian Hamilton when he tried to fight a rookie who was just running down the first base line. You remember that? That's the last time. Aaron Judge, post-game, our captain. Remember that? We gave him this contract. He's been playing excellent. He's the best player in the world. Here's what he had to say post-game. You want to know what he had to say? He says, every good team goes through a couple bumps in the road, but we can't let it falter what our ultimate goal is. What is your ultimate goal? Honestly, what is that goal? And he'd tell you, if he was right in front of us, he'd say, well, obviously we're here to win a World Series. Do you think this team is a World Series team? Do you think that World Series teams can play this brand of baseball for this extended period of time? You're kidding yourself. It's time, and Anthony Volpe is trying to say the right thing, but it's obviously just farting out of his mouth. He's trying to tell you guys that we're mad, just as mad as you guys are. No, you aren't. I promise you're not. And if you were, people would start saying, this is just garbage.
Yeah.
It's garbage. They deserve to boo us. They deserve to be pissed off. That's what should be coming out of your mouth. But it's not. Why? Because now, and Jake, you said it before we went live, it's almost a company memo. We're going to send out an email, and here's what to say when you have a disgruntled customer. Just say, we're going to put our best foot forward. It's right in front of us. And you start to see, even from players who are super accountable on this roster, and you just sort of know them as that, as the years go on, when they play with the Yankees, you start seeing guys repeating themselves. And you're like, wait, did Volpe say this? Or did Boone say this? Or did Brian Cashman say it? And now it's all starting to mesh together. So, Jake, that's actually what frustrates me the most. I think right now this group thinks we're just together, so we're all going to fart out the same thing. But the reality is no one's pissed off at this, and that's why it never changes.
I've never wanted a prop more in my life than I do right now. I wish I had a floppy disk because I would do the whole beep boop beep boop boop. You know,
it's like that SpongeBob episode where they put on the helmets with Plankton.
Exactly.
They're robots. These guys are not real
robots,
people.
Lifeless. I mean, I'm sure Volpe is a life of the party type of dude, right? But when he's getting interviewed in that clubhouse, he is a lifeless man. Like they all are. And I understand, but this is always why I've been consistent. We may flip-flop when we get new information. We're not getting any new information, okay? This is always going to be how it is. It always is what it is. And I actually was really happy Michael K brought up how, like, almost no one wants to watch the postgame anymore because it's like basically it's the same thing over and over again. And he was defending Boone, like, do you expect him to just rip his own players? But I like that he brought that up. You know, having that awareness, like, okay, people are just tired of this. People are tired of, like, think about this for a second. You just mentioned entertainment, which I'm glad because I feel like not everybody sees sports the way you and I do, right? It is entertainment at the end of the day. That's why they're spending all this money, because honestly, they wouldn't, like, when they did that during the COVID season, like playing by themselves, like, okay, whatever. But that couldn't have continued. Like, they would have just canceled the league, right? If nobody ever showed back up to a baseball field, they would cancel the league. If people stopped watching on TV, they'd cancel the league. The point being is it's about you guys. It's about the viewer at home. And if you're not enjoying it, guess what? You have Netflix, you have Hulu, you have HBO, you can play video games, you can go out for a walk, you can go to the beach, right? This is the big thing that's always used against sports in LA. If you're not doing anything, well, there are so many things to do in sunny California, right? So this is my thing, okay? If we're sitting here saying this is an entertaining baseball game, why do I want to watch somebody talk in monotone after the non-entertaining baseball game? That's like going to an open mic night and being like, wow, I can't wait to see a bunch of talented musicians, and it's just all spoken word. And you're like, what the hell did I sign up for?
Well, Michael K just said, well, what do you want him to do? Throw his players under the bus? And by the way, that's a great point. And I'm going to answer right here right now.
I agree.
I'm going to do that on this podcast. So I hope he sees this. Here's really what fans want to see. They want to see action. So when Michael K brings up the point that he's not going to show up and say, well, Volpe stinks this year, this guy's not playing good, you're right. 100% correct. But having said that, the decisions that are being made by who's playing, in what order, who's sitting today, all of those decisions go to show there is no accountability. Just look at his actions. Don't listen to what he's saying. This is part of the job as manager, is in a way diverting our attention and cooling us off, right? Getting us off his back. That's also part of this job. You have to run PR. You're your own PR campaign. So when you show up post-game and you say, we've got to figure out, regardless if you win 6 in a row, you lose 6 in a row, we've got to be the same. Nobody's trying to hear that when you have a player who plays really well and then you show up off a losing streak and that player no longer plays. Or you have a player who's hitting under 200 his last 100 at-bats. He's hitting 180 in Anthony Volpe. And yes, he had a home run. Nobody cared. But he's never sat a lick over his playing. Like, he's just never lost playing time despite how he plays. Doesn't bother anybody. So when you show up post-game, it's already too late. Too late. You cannot convince your audience that you're accountable. You can't. You can't fool Yankees fans. Maybe you can convince Diamondbacks fans or whoever else. And mind you, I don't even think you could do that. But us, you are high. You are. You're honestly lying to yourself. You're lying to us. And it's just not going to land well. And RJ, thank you for the 20. Thank you for RJ. Supporting this channel. We greatly appreciate it. I know it came in actually before we even started. So that's awesome. Thank you, RJ. It says they refuse to spend on brand. Jake, you mentioned this just a few weeks ago, on brand bullpen names because Matt Blake has a reputation for optimizing spin rate merchants. And by the way, this is a good thing, right? It's a good thing and a terrible thing all at once. It's impressive development. There you have it. But they lack velocity. You can't teach 99. The bargain bin arms they sign are all off-speed specialists. So, RJ, you're exactly correct. And to prove you right,
Hall of Fame Super Chat. Hall of Fame Super Chat.
This is awesome. Last year, Jake, if you actually remember correctly, Jack Curry came out and said before the deadline, we don't love who we got in our bullpen. We're getting output. But what did they say the Yankees' biggest problem was? We can't miss bats. Why couldn't we miss bats? Because of the lack of stuff. There you have it. And so Jack Curry came out and said that Brian Cashman was probably, he didn't know for sure, but he thinks Cashman's going to go out and get a lefty and a righty. Long story short, they end up bringing in Mark Leiter Jr. and De Los Meatballs. I
don't remember his name.
Don't even remember his name. De Los Meatballs was DFA'd within the week, and Leiter Jr. eventually showed what he can do. But both players were not high output guys with their respective teams. Leiter Jr. with the Cubs, and I think with the San Diego Padres. I couldn't remember who we got De Los Meatballs from. But the point is, you're in the bargain bin. You're in the clearance rack. And Matt Blake had the tall task, fix these guys. And when we say fix them, locate their spin rate, locate how we can optimize them, as RJ says, and you look up and say, oh, we're actually getting some level of output. But you know what, Jake, and then I'll kick it to you. Some level of output and getting something productive isn't the same thing as getting enough to be a championship team. Just good enough is not good enough. And that seems to be their mentality in their bullpen. You can't patch and play. And that is what they're doing. So I will say they did try and go bring in Devin Williams, but he's not missing bats the way that you'd want a big-time closer to, which is what they're paying him to do. So, yeah, very frustrating. The Yankees, you lose Juan Soto. The Yankees are trying to make value plays in 6 or 7 different directions. Some of them are working brilliantly. Cody Bellinger, right? Paul Goldschmidt for a little bit here. And then there's other guys that we've brought in. It's just not working.
No, it's not. I mean, today, the most swing and misses generated was Carlos Rodon with 9. Obviously, he started the game. That's what's supposed to happen. That's super low for him, though. JV and Sandridge actually had 4 for the Yankees today. But here's the issue. Why is JV and Sandridge in the bullpen? Good for him. Made his debut, got his first strikeout. He also gave up a 3-run shot to Pete Alonso. That kind of took them out of this game. So my issue right now is that it's not just, oh, yeah, we're really down bad with the injuries. Think about this. We've talked about this, right? And that's why I love RJ's comment so much. We literally, all that has happened, okay? Clark Schmidt is a starting pitcher. We'll get to him. That sucks, but we'll get to him. But they have only lost Fernando Cruz, who, again, is a career 5 ERA. And I might be nice about that. It could be higher for his career. But point being, yes, he's turned into something with the Yankees. But this is always the case. Luke Weaver turned into something with the Yankees, right? Tim Hill. People were clamoring for Tim Hill, and you brought this up. Tim Hill to go up against one of the best postseason hitters we've ever seen in Freddie Freeman in the postseason. This random dude who isn't great. And that's who people wanted. We're
screaming for Tim Hill. It was actually our best option. It wasn't like we brought in
I'm not saying he wasn't, but it goes back to what I was saying last year. My biggest issue is that when you have starting pitching that generates soft contact, that actually is good, because having strikeout pitchers, while that sounds fine and dandy, they're likely to eat up pitch count. And since this isn't 130 pitches normalized anymore, and it's you literally, once you get to 100, it's like, whoa, 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 and you take them out. Sometimes it's earlier. It's honestly better to have length. Like Max Fried is a perfect example of what you would want an ideal pitcher to be, starting pitcher, to get through innings, to have a very low, like the margin for error is not slim at all. Because when he's bad, you barely notice it. Like he could actually get through a bad outing, only giving up 2 runs.
He's got enough stuff to get through, but at the same time, it's not such a reliance on it that it's got to be 12 Ks.
The bullpen, you got to miss bats. I'm sorry.
Have to.
I'm so, the way it's such a crapshoot in extra innings. I can't bring out Tim Hill and be like, oh, he's going to give up soft contact. Let's say you're right. Okay. The way the defense is playing, that doesn't make me feel any good. But also, you have a left fielder who I am going to defend Jason Dominguez because the bat is the reason why he's out there. And I have no issue. I will take all of the stuff that he does in left field, all the negativity and everything. I will take that head on if he's going to continue to hit. Simply put. But the point being is your defense is struggling, and you got all of these guys in the bullpen that pitch to contact. And I thought they were getting away with that. And you could say that like they were with Luke Weaver, but now all of a sudden he's not hitting location. And his stuff is good, not great. And Fernando Cruz is out, right? And you did mention Devin Williams, who is starting to miss more bats, since that rough start to the season. But be that as it may, do they have a guy like Clase who you're like, oh, shit. You put him in and just like the other team's just sitting there like.
There's maybe 6 or 7 of those guys where you say, okay, he's coming out.
Yeah.
This is not.
The Yankees don't have
not
that.
A good matchup.
The Yankees don't have a guy that comes in as the closer and you're saying, this feels like an impossibility to win this game right now. Like Munoz from Seattle. When he comes in against the Yankees, I'm like, okay, it was fun. I'm going to watch him blow 103 right by Judge 3 times. That's what I'm going to watch, because that is Munoz. Or like when Clase's on, or like Mason Miller, right? The Yankees don't have that. They it's funny because they used to. Mariano Rivera. But have they really ever had that outside of Mariano Rivera recently? I mean,
I'd probably say the last time I was happy with our bullpen, and mind you, it's not like it worked. It's not like we won the World Series. We didn't do any of that.
Yeah.
But when I was looking at Betances, when I was looking at Chapman, right, when I'm looking at Britton, and we're talking about when they were good with the Yankees, not the tail end. So let's try and remember the good times here. During those times where the Yankees had a super bullpen, right, I was happy with it. I was. And I'm not just going to look at the end result and say, okay, I was never happy with it. No, I was. Because if the Yankees had a lead, they were winning every time. We were the team that, it's like football. You get up in a lead. Now we're going to run the ball. We're going to run out the clock. We're going to win a championship. That's the way that we were sort of trying to play. But what ended up being the problem for the Yankees during those eras? Couldn't score a lick in big games. Couldn't hit. And everyone said it's boom or bust. You remember that's been the approach. All offseason, people said this offense is just too boom or bust. Last year's offense, it's Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, and the rest, it's just either a dud or boom or bust. And they can hit 3 through 5 starters. That was my takeaway. And yes, you run into Kansas City, you run into Cleveland, and you find your way in a World Series. You see the difference between teams that can situationally hit and teams that cannot. And yet, the Yankees made all these signings, Bellinger, Goldschmidt, and Boone's talked about the situational hitting from some of these guys. Jazz has been much better at it. And yet you look up, and now the roster is just not good enough. It's not. They went in the bargain bin on arms, and it's starting to add up. And by the way, Jake, and I wanted to kick this to you because I was interested, and I'll get to the super from Yuri, because Yuri is bringing up that, of course, you see Boone head, so we know he's saying that Yuri is saying Boone had better figure out something out under his sleeve. This is not the same team I saw in person at Yankee Stadium back in May. It certainly isn't. So Yuri, thank you for that.
Appreciate you, Yuri.
I brought up this question on X, and I'm curious to know what our audience thinks, because I mentioned you can either get rid of one person, and a lot of people right now are frustrated with Aaron Boone. And I think the reason it's yes, X's and O's. They don't like the lineups. They don't like some of the decisions he's making. But I think people also need to hesitate on one thing. Aaron Boone, everyone says, oh, he's a company man. He's a puppet. He's doing what they say. And then simultaneously will blame him. Well, why would you blame somebody who's literally hired to stand in front of the actual people making the decisions? So who do you think is really making those decisions? Is it Brian Cashman? Is it somebody slightly below him? Those are the people you should be frustrated with. And so that's where I'm at. What is it? SNY commentators, Jason Dominguez hits 2 home runs yesterday, drops 5 spots in the order. You don't see that too often. Has anybody ever seen that on any team? Which team is it across baseball? Tell me. Is it the Dodgers? Is it San Diego, right? We've seen some young players do some great things, right? Jackson Merrill. We've seen great young talent come through both of those franchises, and they're both heavy spenders. And yet, Cody Bellinger, who was an MVP for the Los Angeles Dodgers, right, gets drafted in like 2013. Can anyone show me any evidence of him going out and hitting 2 home runs at the top of the Dodgers order and then shifting down to 6 or 7? I would love for a single person to find that information for me. And I bet you it doesn't exist.
Off today. It genuinely looked like it threw him off today.
We'll never know what the reason is. But why would, as Nicholas brings up here, and of course, I'm so glad that this was brought to the surface. Why are you putting any players, let alone a young player, in a situation where you can play dominant baseball? You're the best player on the field that day, and you have a demotion in your role the following day. There's no explanation for it, and it's a fireable offense.
Yeah, it's horrendous. So you're telling me he went from, oh, Judge is next to, oh, Volpe's next. That's like, I don't know, pick the greatest thing you've ever seen and then pick the thing that you don't really care too much about. There you go.
I can't track it. And I'm trying to figure out what would be impactful for this team.
That's like taking a chocolate chip cookie and then trading it in for a raisin cookie.
Yeah, I want to make an impact. That's my goal here. And I'm not going to set the record straight and then all of a sudden the Yankees are going to listen to this. Like, no, in the end, we're just talking, right? That's what we're doing. This is what we enjoy.
Yeah.
But to sit up here and watch this and then for people to say, well, Aaron Boone should be fired, and to which I'd say, I don't have a problem with that. Okay, you get rid of Aaron Boone. Who do you expect them to hire? Do you expect them to go old school the way a lot of people would say, whether it's Showalter? Do you expect them to go sign Mattingly, right? You have to consider who's doing the hiring, because a bad company, you can fire the dude who's in charge of running things, but you know what? If that bad company is still in charge of the hiring process, they will hire another jabroni. They will.
It's so true. It's so true. And
I don't even want to say that. I don't, because if Boone was gone, I would like to believe the point that he brought up about Dominguez and all this stuff. Well, if Boone is not making these lineups or these tweaks the way that a lot of people think, then why wouldn't the next guy just do exactly what they say? I don't know.
I mean, my biggest thing is this, and this is what I've maintained. I don't think Boone is the problem entirely. I think he's part of it, just like I think Volpe's part of it, just like I think Austin Wells can be part of it. I know he homered today, and so did Volpe. They've been a part of this issue. But Brian Cashman, he's the one who's been around here a lot longer than everybody else. And I'm sorry, Aaron Boone has not been the manager for the full 16 years they haven't won a World Series. He's been there for half of it, but he has not been there for all of it. It's always been Cashman. And Cashman is known because I get texts from Yankee fans all the time, friends of mine, who always bring up, hey, remember that time we were going to get Cliff Lee, but we didn't because they couldn't send this guy? Oh, yo, remember that time we were going to go out and get Castillo, but they actually defended trading away this guy? Or remember the time we were going to sign Bryce Harper because Bryce Harper wanted to be a Yankee, but we actually didn't because he didn't. Basically, they didn't want him taking over for Brett Gardner. And then he basically, like, it came out that he would play first base, and Brian Cashman didn't believe that he could. And then he ended up playing first base for the Phillies.
Right? Carlos Correa signs over there, and they say, oh, I thought we had to sign Correa to a 10-year contract, $300 million. I thought that was the deal for us. And you know what Brian Cashman came out and said? Oh, we didn't know that was on the table. It's your job to know.
Yeah.
That's your literal, you don't have another job. If this wasn't the job, you'd be unemployed. So you need to know what it is these players would accept. That's the whole point of talking to them. When you say we're kicking the tires on a player, you should be asking him, how many years do you need? How short of a deal would you accept? How much money? How little money? What position will you play? Yes.
David Adams kept us from Cliff Lee. I don't remember. David Adams?
I thought Cliff Lee didn't want to play here because of like treatment to his wife. I thought it was like something of that nature.
They were still going to acquire Cliff Lee, and then something happened. They didn't want to give up a certain
Was that him though, where
prospect.
that incident happened in New York?
I don't know.
I believe it was.
It sounds possible, but I thought he did want to go there. And
I'm
I
not
thought
sure.
there was a point where Roy Halladay actually wanted to go to the Yankees. There were a few instances where they tried to get these guys, and then they asked for the farm, you know what I mean. And the Yankees were like, no. And here's my thing: I've always been, for the prospects, all of that.
The farm, our farm is a damn.
Well, now I mean,
farm?
it looks good. You know what's funny to me is that now. The Yankees, this is what I would describe them as, and then we'll read these super chats. The Yankees run their organization like social media doesn't exist. They run their organization like we can't just easily in 2 seconds, unlike back in the day where you could hide prospects that were hitting well and be like, oh yeah, there's no pressure on them. We don't have to call them up, whatever, because you'd actually have to do some research. Right. Today, you could just go on Twitter, and the first thing that'll come up is Spencer Jones' 4th home run of the year. Right?
I see more highlights from our prospects than I do our players.
Exactly. So
Spencer
that's my
Jones
point.
Is his 4th in a row. I'm like, you guys have a dude who's not catching fly balls, and everyone's time sharing. All these prospects that are doing all this stuff. What are they down there for?
That's the thing. I'm at the point where. And again, I don't want to get too much on the bats right now because I don't think the bats are the issue. I think right now the bullpen and the starting pitching is starting to rear its ugly head as an issue.
Yeah, this is a Brian Cashman creation.
Yes.
Problem.
But that said, though, I still think they need that spark. I still think calling up. I don't actually care what they do. If they call up one of the young guys, like a Rock Reggio. And by the way, my argument for Rock Reggio, real quick, Double A, best pitching. Okay, right now you have a player that's struggling in Lombard Jr. We were getting really excited about him, and he's starting to show he's not quite there yet, which is fine. Give him time. Rock Reggio gets called up at the same time, and he's obliterating Double A pitching. Obliterating. He has a home run every night, just about. And then you have Spencer Jones. So I see these guys hitting, and I'm just at the point where I'm like, every single day we're watching the 11th or 12th best hitter in the Yankees lineup. Peraza, as much as I love the defense, is not a good hitter. And he is in the lineup more often than you would expect. And
can you believe we saw him at second base?
I know. By the way, another thing real quick. I'm tired of people getting on LeMahieu. I'm so sick of it because it's this clump thing where it's like, oh, LeMahieu's clogging up second. Here's my thing, okay? Don't penalize LeMahieu for the fact that they won't move Jazz there. I don't even buy that LeMahieu doesn't want to move to third. LeMahieu's a team guy. He's always been a team guy. He'll play first. He'll DH. He'll be a third baseman. He'll be a second baseman. Let's not try and demonize DJ LeMahieu. As you
He's
said,
also
probably
been sat. So if you want to sit him, sit his behind.
But also,
he's not
have
gonna
you
sit
seen
here and
his
complain about
numbers?
playing time. I mean, his numbers aren't electric, but
he's hitting 266 and has a 341 on base.
I mean,
he's
but
actually doing really well. And
Yeah.
people get on him because it's very simple. If you've ever watched sports before, if you follow teams, he's a scapegoat. Because what DJ LeMahieu was last year was DFA-able, right? This year, he is not a DFA candidate, in my opinion. I think he's playing way too good for the Yankees today. 2 for 2, right? Off the bench, not able to really get going, and then he just gets thrown in the fire late in the game, goes 2 for 2. 266, 341 on base. I know he doesn't slug a lick. I don't care. If he's going to keep doing those slap singles, imagine what's going to happen when guys are actually on base. So here's my thing, is that all he is a scapegoat for people that want to defend Wells, for people that want to defend Volpe, for people that want to defend Peraza, and for people that can't just admit the fact that there are more issues than just this. DJ LeMahieu was brought back in before Stanton came back. When Stanton came back, it's not on Stanton per se, but this is what I was saying off air. When Stanton entered the lineup, it shook things up. Now all of a sudden, we saw it today. Look at how many talented players weren't playing today.
There's
LeMahieu
too many
didn't play
decisions
today.
on this roster.
Goldschmidt
the
didn't play
overlapping.
today. Right?
The overlapping with this roster. There's too many decisions that Boone
Yes.
is flubbing up. Obviously, Michael K brought up Giancarlo has to play every day. That was his take. And the reason he said that was that Giancarlo does too much in October to possibly not get him tuned up, right? A lot of people agree with it. I was one of the people who was like, well, you're going to have to see what's going on with Giancarlo. I understand the take. But now you're looking up and saying there's an overlap at DH. There's an overlap at first base. There's an overlap in the outfield. And we're undermanned at third base. Jazz Chisholm is playing out of position. He's not good at it. You need to be moving him back to second base. The people who are criticizing DJ LeMahieu, mind you, I'm not going to call anybody DJ LeMahieu haters, or I'm not even going to call it scapegoating. I'm just not. I'm just going to say that it's not DJ's fault that he's out there. If you don't think, and me personally, what DJ's giving, I'm not going to be like, oh, he's performing well enough to start for this team. He's playing good enough to start for this team because of there's nothing behind him or in front of him. If there was a talented enough player to play second base or third base and Jazz could move over to second, DJ wouldn't have to come out and show you guys this. The lack of range, the lack of speed, and where we look at and say, look what that guy's lacking. Why are you guys looking at what he's doing? Didn't you guys already tell me he shouldn't be playing? Well, why is he? Because Brian Cashman this offseason didn't go get someone better. That's why. There's your answer. And this team is healthy. I know people don't want to hear this. This team, you lose Clark Schmidt. People are going to look at this and say, what are we going to do now that we have these injuries? Clark Schmidt's been hurt. He's hurt all the time.
This is why he was in our trade conversation.
We said earlier, and I believe you introduced this, Jake, this idea. He's 29, almost 30 years old, right? He is injury prone. He has no history of staying on the mound, and we're not going to pick on him. This is his history. If you look at Baseball Reference, it's all right there to be read. And you say, who's going to stay on this roster and who's not? Who can I count on? Who can't I? I'm going to count on players who have shown I can stay on the field. And so we said Clark should probably be traded at the deadline. And the reason we said this is we wanted somebody more with more of ability where we can just say he's going to be here. He's going to give us a high output. Clark's going to give us a high output, but he's not going to be here. And sure enough, just a few months later, he goes down with Tommy John. We feel terrible. We do. But people are going to look at this and say, yeah, the Yankees are faltering because they're now starting to fall apart. No, we've been falling apart. We have, and it's not health. Aaron Judge is healthy. Cody Bellinger's healthy. The 37-year-old Paul Goldschmidt, he's healthy. Ben Rice is healthy. Austin Wells is healthy. JC's healthy. These guys are healthy. Anthony Volpe, your top prospect. Jason Dominguez, these guys are fine. Giancarlo's back. You guys are losing games. So there's no excuse for this. You guys built this.
That's
Stop
all it is.
acting like we're in a house fire. You guys created this house fire as soon as the season started. And I know at the beginning of the year, especially with the start, I said this was an 88-win team. And I'm starting to feel like, I believe you said, we were 6 or 7 games over 500 at this point. I think 88 wins actually seems about right. I think I might be close here. I know the over-under was starting to creep up to, 92 or 93 wins. But we're looking like a wild card team here in July.
Yeah, they really are. And I do think, and obviously our prompt today was, is this the beginning of the end for the 2025 Yankees? It can be. I don't think it is, right? But it absolutely can be. If Brian Cashman doesn't take the deadline seriously one way or another, it's going to be an issue. If he doesn't take the deadline seriously as like, okay, he sees this team is struggling and is just like, this team isn't going to win a World Series, and he doesn't sell off like a Trent Grisham or somebody like that, abject failure of a deadline. But even worse, if he feels like this team can win and it's just like, yeah, we have the pieces, they'll just play better, that is even worse. And so I think both can exist. I think you can sell and buy. I think they need to sell Grisham high right now. They do. I mean, the
so
market
you're looking at
sucks.
third base, I would assume.
Yeah. And I want to bring up Suarez, because I actually am starting to feel like, you know what? The defense at third is an issue right now, but Jazz is actually playing a worse third base right now than Suarez is. And if I'm already getting bad defense, but if I had like 28 home runs and I can move Jazz to second and he's playing every day and he's actually playing a really good defense at second, I can live with that. I can. And so I'm not trying to trade, everybody for Suarez. But if all of a sudden you added 28 home runs, he's now, that OPS is starting to hover to 900, Gary. It's getting close. So you're talking about a guy who's really dangerous at the plate. And you're talking about a guy who, if he can play third base every day at even just a slightly below average level, but he gives you that offensive production, that is going to help you. That is going to help you in the long run.
When you say to people who are saying, and I've heard this actually, not a ton, but it's been introduced to me. Mm-hmm. What do you say to the people who are saying, well, we're just kind of flubbing up games. Games are just never clean with the Yankees, right? It's the errors. Mm-hmm. Our run prevention is terrible. Obviously, our pitching's bad. They got to bring in guys at the bullpen. But I've heard the name Nolan Arenado a few times. Now, mind you, he's not hitting to the same degree. You're probably, if you did bring in this player, he's not hitting the way he's been, right? You look at Savant, it's a lot of blue offensively, but where the red is defensively, right? He's still great on the defensive side. So mind you, there are a lot of people who are going to look at this player and they're going to say, Arenado, no, he's a has-been. Yes, I understand exactly where you're coming from. Every single player that you bring into the Yankees is going to be massively flawed. Every single player. The market is going to be incredibly thin. Yon Moncada, we've mentioned his name. Jake, you love that idea, right?
Yeah.
And you don't think he's an MVP candidate, but very injury prone. Ton of injuries with the White Sox, still getting hurt with the Angels, played really well against us. And you might bring him in here, and 3 weeks later, he's telling you he's got a lat issue and he's gone the rest of the year. You may never see him again. That's sort of how it's gone. All of these options. So the reason I look at this, and I maybe say if you're going to take all the money, I'll take a defensive stopper over at third base who at least is a veteran guy that I know can turn it on offensively. But the Yankees right now have an option at third in Peraza, where he's a dynamite defender, can't hit a lick. And he also hasn't shown at any point in his career that he's going to hit at the big league level. So that's my concern. Do I want Arenado? No. But at very least, it's got my wheels turning. But let's catch up on some of these super chats because I know we can't stay too much longer. But Kyle with the 2 says, in order to win tomorrow, Fried has to pitch a complete game.
Burned into the screen like an OLED.
I know. I'm sorry. Yeah, Kyle's like the Cartoon Network little thing at the bottom. Yeah, Kyle, thank you. It's probably not going to happen. You also have to look at who we're playing, right? Juan Soto, he's not going to go complete game, but I guess the super is to make the point. Our bullpen can't win a game. I don't even know who you'd pitch. People always message me. My DMs are literally still going off at the moment of, why did we bring in this guy? Why did we bring in that guy? Who do you want him to bring in? Weaver's ice cold, right? Leiter Jr.'s overworked and ice cold. Cruz is gone. There aren't any good options. And that is on our general manager. So there's not really anything there.
Not great.
And Jay with the super with the 2 said, at least Boone chews his gum well. Yeah, I know. It's
I thought he and Laz Diaz were going to go down and fight. I was waiting for it.
Yeah, the last thing I'd want Boone to do is start, I don't want to say scapegoating, but to almost like kick up the water like it's about umpiring. We're not losing because umpiring.
They're bad.
Honestly,
they're always
I was watching
bad,
Laz. I actually was like kind of laughing at it because I just don't even take this serious at this point. Apex with the super. Thank you, Apex, for the 2. Says, imagine hitting Judge on top of everything else. Oh, I believe he's talking about Anthony Volpe, right? Hitting Aaron Judge with the errant throw.
Oh, my God. Unreal.
You text me that. I didn't realize he was the one who threw the ball because I know it happened in between innings.
Right here.
Yeah, Volpe hit Judge with the ball.
Appreciate you, Kyle.
In the eye, and it's brutal.
Oof.
It is.
John with the all caps gutless. Appreciate you, John, with the super from the top down. Disgrace.
Yeah, this team is, I would say this, though, the leadership is gutless. I actually, by the way, maybe I'm in the minority here. I don't even really get that mad when I see Anthony Volpe saying stuff like this or Aaron Judge. What bothers me is that I know it's coming from up top of them. That's what bothers me. What is this?
Big D, drop it at the end. I promise my user is not an innuendo.
Oh, yeah. Big DPR. Thank you for the 5 and also being a member. I know you recently became a member here with Yankees Unloaded. We greatly appreciate your support.
Appreciate you.
So October 16th, 2003 was a gift and now cursed for this team. I'm assuming he's talking about Aaron Boone's home run off of Tim Wakefield. We are stuck with a man as our manager because of his big home run. There it is. And I promise my user is not an innuendo.
Amazing.
Yeah. Every time I read your name, people are like, wow, Gary, really? What do you want me to do?
Yeah. So, appreciate you.
Yeah. Richmond B with the 5 says nothing changes until people stop filling the stadium. Jake, I think we also covered this that.
Yeah. People aren't going to stop going to the Yankees.
No.
But here's the thing. Okay.
I wouldn't even do that.
Let's just look at it like Cleveland, right? Mm-hmm. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is not the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They put everybody in there, right? It's just because nobody else has a hall. There's not like a Hall of Fame for rap. And I mean, maybe there is. I don't know about it. But the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has rappers, hip hop artists, country, right? So just because it has all of those doesn't mean you don't want to go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame if you're in Cleveland. First off, there's nothing to do in Cleveland. I've been there. And second, that's a place where people go. Like the Yankees. It's a tourist attraction. You have to go to Yankee Stadium at least once if you're a baseball fan. People tell me that all the time. I mean, I feel like I should have gone more because I live in New York. I'm not like right by Yankee Stadium, 3 hours.
Yeah, people make it seem like we're the problem because we will show up and the product is terrible. And they'll say, well, the reason it's terrible is because you guys helped them accomplish the bottom line by telling people or going to the games. I was like, you guys think we're all just simultaneously going to turn off, never watch the game, never go to the stadium, right? I want to support this team. I'm not going to show up and be like, it's all great every single day. It's not. It's horrible.
Boycotts don't work, by the way. They don't.
I'm going to show up there. I'm going to hope I see good baseball. And when it's not good baseball, which history and recent history tells me it won't be, I'm going to hop on the mic and tell you guys how terrible it was. That's the end of my job. I don't have any other job. So no boycotts for me.
And then we got Jeff J with the 20. Appreciate you guys. Was talking with my sons about this team today. Either you fire Baboon, I love the Baboon, or you shake up the players by moving some big names, but Trash Can remains the problem. Trash Can. We need Hal to fire Trashy and Fish Face. Otherwise, it's the same. Who is Fish Face?
Is Fish Face Brian Cashman?
No, because Trashy is Cashman.
Jeff, who's Fish Face? Are we missing something? There's got to be something we're missing.
By the way, did you see that guy in our comments? Like, I appreciate him viewing our show, but he was in our comments again complaining about my tank top yesterday. Like, after the fact. It's just the funniest thing. It's like, I don't know.
Wait, so who's Fishman?
Fishman? Who
the hell is Fishman?
Fishman? Cashman? I don't know.
Have absolutely no idea who that is. Analytics. So I'm assuming he runs analytics. By the way, what's his full name? Just so I can understand.
No, yeah. I'm kidding.
Michael Simon, thank you for doing that.
Yeah,
Michael Fishman.
He's definitely not any Damon Oppenheimer.
Yeah, it is interesting because people always say we're an analytic franchise. Like, we're just married to analytics. We don't want to take our eyes off the prize of analytics, because if we do and we put a manager like Don Mattingly, let's use Don Mattingly as a perfect example. Let's just say Aaron Boone gets fired, right? Hypothetically. They hire Don Mattingly. And the Yankees in 2026, they sign Kyle Tucker. They win a World Series. Guess who gets the credit? Don Mattingly. Mm-hmm. You're not looking at Brian Cashman. You're not looking at the analytics department.
No.
The credit stops. It is the players getting the credit and the manager. Old school.
I like Damon Oppenheimer. That's it.
The players. But we don't do that anymore. Now it's a bunch of nerds who really, I had a hand in the group project. No, we've been doing a group project now for 17 years. You guys haven't done a damn thing. Nothing. You guys have won a bunch of regular season games, spending $125 million on average more than the average team. And you're beating your chest that you're winning 93 games. You go into October, and if you play anybody, you lose.
But hey, at least there was a movie made about Moneyball.
They need to make a movie about us. Who would play, by the way, which actors would play Boone and Cashman? Hey, what actors do you guys think? Honestly.
I have no idea.
They should make a movie about this team.
Jesse Plemons will be Cashman.
Yeah, John with the 5 says, Baboon the Clown burned up the bullpen early on, brings in a guy making his debut against Soto and Alonso, and drops Dominguez.
That is a good point.
Fire Cashman.
They literally just were like, yeah, JV, we know this is the first time you've ever pitched in the big leagues. Here's Juan Soto, and then here's Pete Alonso, who, by the way, he probably did strike out Juan Soto. I don't know for sure if he went or not, but anyway, he looked good in that, and then he just, Pete Alonso. That's brutal. Welcome to the show, kid. That is, wow. Jalen, appreciate you. Thank you for the 20. Part 1 in baseball, you get what you deserve, and we don't deserve to win. Boone is just not serious. We still have Jazz at third, Peraza at second. JD had an amazing game yesterday in the leadoff spot, and he gets demoted to 6th. Part 2, and appreciate you, Jalen.
Thank you, Jalen.
And who's batting behind him? Volpe. We then move our best outfielder to first base so we can DH our first baseman and leave Dominguez in the outfield. Play the games the right way. So I have some pushback on that, because the only way Dominguez is going to get better is if he is playing in the outfield, right? And I do think, as much as they experiment, the fact that they haven't used Jason Dominguez at center field really irks me. Like, that continues to drive me mad.
So you want the attempt to fix the problem by just putting him in his native position in hopes that it improves. Okay, no, I don't have a problem with it. Do I think it'll fix it? Personally, I don't. But
I don't know if it will
I wouldn't
either,
have a
but
problem with it.
I want to at least see the effort. You know,
Yeah,
I want to see the effort. Like, okay, the kid is very uncomfortable in this spot. Clearly, he's getting better, but very, very slowly getting better. He's not getting better, like, quickly. So my thing is, if he played center field for most of his minor league stint, why is he not playing center field? You want to get these guys comfortable. It's like saying, oh yeah, Volpe, you were a shortstop your whole time, but we're going to move you to left field. It's like that. No, you're not going to do that, right? So yeah, I don't know. Dominguez, it's weird. Volpe was coddled. Volpe was given the runway to have, you know, the starting gig at shortstop. But Dominguez was, even though he was never rated as highly by the MLB, you know, themselves, like he was never the 5th overall prospect, he was always considered a ridiculously high prospect. People compared him to Mickey Mantle. They called him the Martian before he'd proven anything. And for whatever reason, they didn't have that preferential treatment with him. He was the guy that was in and out of, they'd call him up for a little bit. They'd act like it's a damn ceremony, and then they'd send him down. I'll never forget that. They called him up for 3 games, and then they sent him back down. And to me, I feel like that's the biggest frustration I have with that, is that you're playing him out of position, right? So not only are you playing him out of position, then you're playing him sporadically. It's like if you saw a glimpse of what he can be yesterday. Can you imagine if he just got the runway like Volpe did?
Who isn't playing out of position, by the way? You know, actually, though, that first part that Jalen brought up, and by the way, guys, if you're not subscribed to this channel, please make sure you guys subscribe. I know I haven't clicked the little jingle yet, but make sure you guys are subscribed. When we get to 10,000 subscribers, we'll give you any jersey authentic of your choice, home or road. Make sure you guys do that. Hit the bell to be notified when we're live. We're live after every single game, even if we really don't want to cover this team, like today. But, you know, actually what just hit me today? There are a lot of people who were saying, well, why didn't Jazz go over to second base? Peraza is in the lineup. He's a dynamite third baseman, right? We've seen that before. Jake, you saw it live.
Of course.
You know, actually, I think it might be an indication that nothing is imminent. Nothing. Because remember what Boone said. I don't want to flip-flop. I don't want Jazz bouncing around from position to position. So the fact that Jazz is still standing over at third base, and we're currently about 25 days from the deadline, roughly, and you can say, well, if they don't feel comfortable throwing him over to second base, that trade for a third baseman apparently isn't even somewhat close. Because if it was, he would communicate that down to Aaron Boone, and Aaron Boone would in turn throw Jazz at his rightful position. But he doesn't do that. So for those of you who are thinking, Jazz made another error today, he's made errors all week, he's been hitting, he's still a very good player. If you think that what you saw today is going to make a difference or something's going to happen tomorrow, take a look at who's playing where. I think it'll tell you nothing's set to change soon. It's disappointing, but I wanted to throw it out there.
No, I tend to agree. I actually don't think that they have a plan. I think that they have the framework of a plan. And we'll get to it now with the Nicky Lopez pickup. He played short today in AAA, and they moved B-Boss back to second. And they also picked up Heimer Candelario. Now, we talked about it on this show. He was DFA'd. I did not want anything to do with him on the major league roster, right? Because I was like, he had a 112 batting average. He's lost it. But if he can somehow regain that 2023 form, and by him going to AAA, he just does, I actually really like this move. It's very low risk and could be high reward. That said, I'm not banking on that. This is just one of those Brian De La Cruz moves that it's like, why not? If it doesn't kill you, like, who cares, right? But I think the big thing here is, Gary, that they don't actually know what they're doing right now. They don't. They are getting guys like Heimer Candelario and Nicky Lopez. They brought in CJ. I think it was CJ Anderson. No, what was his name? CJ. I forget. Anyway, they brought in
I think CJ Anderson. I think he's in the NFL.
Yeah, I know.
They might as well bring him in.
Yeah, well, I mean,
he's got upside speed.
No, they brought in this CJ guy and CJ Alexander. Thank you, William Wallace. And so CJ,
welcome back, William.
CJ Alexander ends up getting claimed by the Dodgers, believe it or not. The Yankees
Yes.
cut him. He was horrendous. So they gave him a shot. Didn't work out. This is a normal thing, Gary. I'm not like shocking you by this because we see all the time, oh, big name that isn't a big name anymore. Kind of haven't heard from him in a while. Now he's signing a minor league deal. You know who did that? Matt Carpenter. So you never rule out minor league deals. It's not just like they're screwed, they're stuck there. They're basically on speed dial, in case there needs to be a call up. My point in bringing this up, I think Candelario has been horrendous, but if he figures it out, now they have a guy that can play third. People were making fun of his defense. He had a higher, I think it was just as good I think it was actually higher than Volpe. So I don't miss me with the defense. My thing here, though, is that this could signal to more activity coming. If this team, which they do, needs a starter, they need a reliever, they need a whole new bullpen, to be honest with you. But if they need that, Gary, then I actually saw, there it is. It was a super chat.
And Drew? Yep.
Nailed
I was about
it.
to pop it up there.
Nailed it.
Had exactly to do with it.
So this, and I'm not necessarily saying this is the one that needs to get done, right? I'm not like the biggest fan of Willie Castro. Like, okay, he has an OPS that's almost 800. No. Hear me out. Like, I understand what he's saying, and I'm not like the biggest fan of Willie Castro, but this is the framework of what we're looking at, okay? This is what we're looking at. The Yankees are not going, or if they do this right, they're not going to make a trade for one guy like they did last year. They're not going to just get De Los Meatballs and cash or whatever and then trade prospects and get Mark Leiter Jr. for another team.
And do you think that's because it looks so bad right now on the big league roster?
Well, I think they got to make multiple moves, and I think it's a lot easier to just do a big trade. And so I think when you look at the Twins, they're not a team that I would even say is probably going to make the playoffs. So they would probably be prone to trading these guys away. You could get a pretty decent prospect. Duran is a stud. He's absolutely killing it. Then, of course, you have Correa. And then, Willie Castro. So I do think it's interesting. I don't know who would be a part of a trade like that. But this is kind of the framework of what I'm looking at. The Yankees getting 3 to 4 players, right? I'm thinking this could be like almost in a way when they got Todd Frazier and they got Canely. I think they're going to do something similar to that.
Would you put Correa at shortstop? Well, first and foremost,
don't ask me that because of course.
Right, but here's the thing. So if you're going to put Correa at short, which we both agree, right? I wanted to tee that up.
Of course.
But now that Anthony Volpe would be on the outside looking in, he's headed towards arbitration this offseason, which is hilarious. It's ridiculous. Would you move Anthony Volpe? Because people are talking about how bad the range is. Now, mind you, DJ LeMahieu is hitting 266. He was 2 for 2 today, right? And Volpe hit a home run that didn't feel like it meant much. I don't feel like it did. But having said this, I do believe what Volpe's bad at, right? He doesn't have the strongest arm. He does have somewhat of range, not maybe for shortstop, but he would at second base, right? And we see the same problem going on with Jazz. Some guys just aren't shortstops. Would you let Anthony Volpe just venture over for the rest of the year to second, or would you just send him down to the minor leagues for a couple months and see if you can recoup something? If he figures it out, you throw him back over to second base. What would you do?
I'm playing him like they play everybody, in the infield, where, you'll have Peraza was playing third, shortstop, and second. Look at what Peraza's become defensively, right? Like, I'd be doing the same thing. I'd be seeing if he could play third. I'd be seeing if he can play second. Playing him at short, see if that thing's dead. I will kill this trade here, very, very simply put. Carlos Correa is due $32 million. His contract sucks. It's a terrible contract.
How long is he supposed to be paid for, though?
So, until 2028. And then
2028, okay.
But in then 2029, there's a vesting option. So if he were to become the LCS MVP, the World Series MVP, have a Silver Slugger, be a top 5 in voting, or have 575 plate appearances, then that vesting option is no different than Marcus Stroman getting 140 innings. And you are locked into him until he is 38 in 2033.
Well, if he does one of those things, if he's the MVP of a postseason series, it's working.
Well, it's
I'll
more
pay
so
whatever amount
the
of money
plate
if you're gonna do-
appearances. It's one of them. So the plate appearances,
Yes.
if he has 575 plate appearances, you're locked into him. And that keeps going down, keep in mind. 575 in 2029, 550 in 2030, 525. And so I don't like that at all. Personally, I think this contract is horrific, and I would stay away from it. But I was bringing it up because I like where Drew's head's at. I think this is going to be one of those package deals where if I'm a Yankee fan and I'm trying to be realistic here, it's very simply put, I think it's going to be David Bednar and IKF. And I think they might do some other things, but that is what I think is the most likely type of trade you're going to see.
No risk. The ceiling is going to be low. You bring in Bednar, you bring in IKF. These are literal Band-Aids at each. Bednar's not going to come to New York and dominate. No chance. None. IKF is not going to come to the Yankees and dominate. We already know the type of player he is. His job is to be a utility player. He's a literal Band-Aid. That's what a utility player is. We can move wherever you need him. These two options aren't going to put the Yankees over the hump. And I think there's a lot of people thinking that why would
push back on I think he'd be dominant in our bullpen.
Who?
Bednar.
Bednar would be dominant in our bullpen?
96 percentile K rate.
Yeah, I don't think he's that good. I just don't.
I actually like him a lot. But I mean, I'm not saying like he's not going to be your go-to guy. He's good if Devin Williams continues to be good. He's good if Luke Weaver figures it out.
That's the thing is if you're going to make a trade, you didn't go get a player who is a lights out guy. You don't have a lights out guy. So if you don't have a lights out guy, you're not going to trade for a lights out guy. Well, then you don't have one. So this idea that it's going to be enough, your bullpen is already patched, guys. We've talked about being in the bargain bin. And now you're going to go into October and you don't even have a lights out guy? Well, I don't know what to tell you. You can't rely on anybody.
I hear you on that, but I'd push back on Bednar because I don't think that's just a bargain bin guy. I think he's a genuinely really good relief pitcher, and he has been. He's a two-time
I feel like he's in the
All-Star.
conversation with Luke Weaver and Devin Williams. He's just a solid guy. He could be good at times, but
I would
Weaver's
disagree
doing right now. Who?
I would absolutely disagree because Luke Weaver, I mean, he's had not even a full season of really good. And I mean, Bednar has a career 3.29 ERA, and he has seasons where he has 273, 200, 261, 223. I mean, he's had some really good years. I think Bednar's got really good stuff, and I think it'd be a great fit. And I also think, when it comes to him and IKF, I think IKF replacing Peraza in the on the roster and Bednar replacing, take your pick in the bullpen, I think a better team. And then you can say, I got IKF who replaced Peraza. He could play third, he could play short, he could play second, he could play catcher, right? He has all the versatility in the world, and he's a solid bat. But now I have him, I have LeMahieu, I can trade away Grisham, I can essentially sell high on Grisham. And you know what I could do, Gary? I can take what I get from Grisham, turn it around, and I can get Suarez and try and get one of the starting pitchers from Arizona. And that is how, in a fail swoop, in 2 moves, well, 3 moves technically, you can improve the Yankees. You can really improve the Yankees.
But that's the thing is my goal is not to improve the Yankees. My goal is if we go into the trade deadline and you make said moves, whichever moves, and you don't feel like you can win a World Series, then I don't feel like, how am I supposed to feel good about it? Now, am I upset if Bednar is a Yankee? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's a huge upgrade over probably 4 to 5 guys in our bullpen right now. And he's probably above, he's probably above Weaver given his, I would presume, health, right? In this pecking order right now. You'd probably throw Bednar out on the mound ahead of him, at the moment. But does it just suddenly provide a complete solution? No, I think the group is actually pretty bad. Like multiple moves need to be made in the bullpen. Like I'm looking at Bednar plus probably 2 other arms. that the Yankees have to go out and get, and that includes a utility guy or just a designated guy who can play third base, right? You get DJ LeMahieu off the field despite him doing some things good, other things atrocious. He's got to come off the field. You need better infield defense. Anthony Volpe, they're just stuck with it. They are, unless you make some big-time trade with Minnesota, you bring in a Correa, which you don't like the contract, and I don't blame you. But players who have played late in October, veteran players, they tend to have contracts that aren't ideal, and the players who do have ideal contracts, you can't get them, right? Ketel Marte, they can't acquire these guys. Jose Ramirez can't acquire them. Ronald Acuna Jr., they won't give them to you. Why? Because any veteran player who gives you high output on a great contract, why would they trade that player? And they just don't. So we're looking at a bunch of flawed assets. Yes, that's who I'm looking at. It's more so about the stuff. Is it going to be dynamite stuff? Yes. That's the guy I'm looking at.
It's not just a red wave there. It's also, he has a 1.56 ERA and a 1.12 whip. Like, he's dominant. Like, right now. He's really, not just really good.
Yeah, he's not just a savant. What do they call him? What do they call that again?
What you normally do, a savant wet dream.
Yeah, like, and people get pissed off with that. Okay, well, why are we staring at baseball savant if you can't prevent runs? That's your job in the end. But it's also about the style. When you throw a Duran out on the mound, the opposing hitter's thinking about, I can't get overpowered here. I can't get embarrassed here. I've got to look for 2 to 3 different pitches, and they're all plus. That's what we're looking for. How many guys do you think have 2+ pitches in our bullpen? How many guys? And Jake, you actually bring up, I think this is really good that you bring this up. Weaver actually gives us really good results when he's healthy, but interestingly enough, he doesn't have wipe away stuff. It's not 102. It's not 98. It's not, occasionally he'll get up to there, but on average, it's 94, 95 with high spin. That's why he's missing bats. So love that you bring that up. DG with the super with the 5. Thank you. Says, was at the game today. I'm really sorry about that, DG. Hopefully you had fun. Said, Mets fans riding high as owning New York City right now. Volpe hitting Judge in the face was wild. Yeah, I'm actually surprised the throw is accurate. I'm shocked.
I don't think this year could be worse for Volpe. Not saying it's not his own doing, but like, that is just, there you go. That is the salt on the steak, Salt Bay.
I might be with Slim Lewis here, at least at the beginning of this, right? I haven't read the rest, but I'm going to get to that. Slim, thank you for the 5 supporting our channel. Says the blame is on Cashman. Not even Joe Torre or Tony La Russa could win with this bullpen, and I believe that's true. I don't think there's anything. There's been mistakes that Boone's made with this bullpen throughout the year, but every manager makes mistakes. They do, and it's our job to cover them, but we also cover the things he did well, and there were some things he did. But having said that, this bullpen, you can have Connie Mack out there. There's nothing you can do with this group. There's just not. It's patchwork. It worked for a little bit, and the dam just exploded. It did. That said, replacing Boone would be a good step. So at least momentum in the right direction, suggesting that the Yankees are looking for someone to be accountable rather than trying to fool us with words.
Yes.
So I would agree with that, Slim. And Das Wolf with the 2 says, getting his money's worth. Fire Boone. Man, a few words. Ton of action.
Appreciate you guys. And then Geo LV, thank you for the 5. Analytics let everyone in the front office not have to be responsible for results. It's self-preservation and a production-based job. That is money.
That is money right there. Gio,
amazing.
Welcome to the podcast, my friend. That is can we actually let's peel this, because essentially what Gio is saying here is that if the analytics that you've located suggests that, and the whole point of analytics is that we're going to use numbers and just data in general to, at our best, like, can we actually predict what's going to happen over the next 2 weeks or tomorrow, right? The analytics say that this is the best 9 and in this order, right? These guys should play, and this is how we should use them. So now that the analytics say so, Gio's point is that the manager's now just succumbing to the analytics and what to do. Rather than getting in his ego in making a decision, like old school fans or old school managers. So that's interesting. I haven't heard that before, right? Analytics are a tool, and technically, if they're used correctly, they're always good. The problem is sometimes people are reliant on the analytics. They won't let their mind override what the stat sheet says, right? Or what a graph says, or what Kyle in the analytics department, what he's saying. So that's interesting. I haven't heard that. Jake, have you ever heard this before? Because this is some good stuff.
No, and I actually thought of an idea. I think we should, in some way, because we have our, like, they have like the Twitter thing that we have on YouTube now, the communities.
Okay.
I think it'd be very easy to do when we say, wow, that's a Hall of Fame super chat. I think we should screenshot it and post it. And it's all there. And we just
I'm taking a picture. I'm taking a picture of this super chat. I'm actually going to say, never thought in a million years on my own podcast, I'd be sitting here with my phone taking a picture of us. This is probably the best super we've received, I would say.
And we get some really good ones. So
because if you think about it, Boone
from here on out, we are going to do this. So guys, feel free if you're trying to one up, or you want to be a part of the Super Chat Hall of Fame. That's what we're doing now. I just screenshotted it. We're also I'm going to go back, retrace my steps here, and I'm going to also screenshot the one from earlier. Let's see, where is
because in a way you're absolved from all responsibility. The analytics suggested that this was the right move. So who are you arguing with? Really?
And then this one, I'm definitely...
You're arguing with data. You're the fool, right? That's what they tell us?
Big time.
There's no reason. Remember, when Aaron Boone and all these guys, when they say, well, the Yankees have data that we haven't seen, what's that telling you? That tells you that our graphs and our data suggest that what we're doing should be working. You guys don't know enough. We know. We know what needs to be done. And yet their track record is over however many years they've been here. So... it's absolved from responsibility. I love that. I do.
Yeah. And then this one here from RJ from earlier, definitely I'm just waiting for the ticker to show up so I can have the actual date there in the and there we go. So yeah, the Super Chat Hall of Fame. I'll be posting those on our channel. Awesome stuff.
Yeah. Anything else, by the way, to talk about? Because I've got to be on Fox Radio in like 10 minutes. They're of course, going to be asking me about this.
You excited?
The Yankees am I? No. I already regret having agreed to it.
Nothing against Fox Radio. It's just more so the Yankees talking about them.
No,
again.
it tends to be, they only bring me on when we're losing. Anytime we're on a win streak, then no one wants to talk to us.
So we'll wrap it up with this. Cam Schlittler was confirmed he's going to make his debut either Tuesday or Wednesday against the Mariners at the stadium. I understand right now it sucks with Clark Schmidt, but I had already kind of prepared for this. It's why I was watching Cam very, carefully, because Cam is legit. Okay. He's got a fastball that now is touching 99.
That's what I'm
doing
talking
that
about.
in the past.
Yes.
He's got a really good slider, his sweeper, and then he's got a curve. And now the big thing, I just continue to just drive home this point. He's going to be working with Matt Blake now. So I think he's going to stay, Gary. I think he's going to stick around, and I think he's going to have great success. This is probably one of the most hyped pitching prospects in my mind that the Yankees have had in a long time. I feel really good about him, and I actually had a chance to see him in spring training. He's got good stuff, and I think he's gotten a lot better since then. So I'm excited for him. It's a huge opportunity for him, and it doesn't rule out, Luis Heel coming back. It doesn't rule out a trade, but I think Schlittler is going to be really good. And I mean, worst comes to worst, he does get traded for one of these guys. He's putting himself, out there, at this start. So I don't think that's going to be the case, though. I think you could be looking at Clark Schmidt's, replacement here. I'm not kidding. So get ready. You asked me, where do you see him in the rotation? It's not that I see him there right now. A number 2. I'm not saying he'll be an ace, but a number 2.
That's a great thing.
That's
Especially when you
keep
have
an eye
Max
on-
Fried, you've got
Yeah.
Rodon, and I know not today's Rodon, but the baseline Rodon, what it normally has looked like this year, that's either a 1 or 2 in your rotation, right? We lost Garrett Cole for the year. You go into next year, if he can recoup, now you can say we've got talent that can fit either in the 1-2 spot. This is at least, the very least, can provide something to look forward to this week. If it's not going to be Boone and what he creates with his lineup, if it's not going to be Cashman and what he does with his trades, let it be Cam Schlittler. Let it be what he can do. And by the way, for those of you thinking that this is, I know, that this is just going to be some prospect that's going to try and blow 100 by guys. I think the minor leagues and just baseball in general is starting to get smarter into you're going to need complementary pitches to get outs in this league. You're not going to throw 100 by guys. That's not going to be what makes you special. You need to have a wrinkle off of that. There needs to be some movement off of that. And I think Cam can do that. So I'm excited to watch it. Minor leagues versus major leagues, very different brands of baseball, but I think he's ready for this. I do.
Yeah. And, oh, wait, what was it? There was one thing I wanted to, oh, yeah. So I don't know if you noticed one of our mods here, Drew, who super chat earlier, Drew's kind of been dropping some hints that he might know some things. I can't confirm nor deny that Drew has sources. No offense, Drew. I don't know. But he was dropping some stuff about the Twins, and that maybe that super chat wasn't just an opinion. That maybe, because apparently the Twins have been heavily scouting the Yankees prospects. So who knows? Who knows? But we got one more super chat here.
Love that people are still just like, get Volpe off this team.
I know.
Not even we were done with that like 40 minutes ago, and it's still so prevalent. He had a home run today. That's how bad it's been, just to be fair.
Vog, thank you for the 15. It's time for radical explosive change. Magley looks bored and ready for a meaningful assignment. Hey.
Hell of a start there to the super. I was like, what the hell?
It's time for radical explosive change.
I was like, well, hold on a second.
Oh.
Yeah, it does look, I'd say really, the Yankees, Jake, I think you actually described this. The Yankees look like it's just a boring baseball team right now. It's just, you feel like if we have a lead, we'll just kind of fumble it. We're going to play a very unclean, which by the way, we were playing clean baseball at the beginning of the year. Errors were down, right? Defensive analytics were up, but it was just a month and a half of baseball. That's all it was, right? We were happy it was happening. We covered it. But we said there's a lot of baseball to be played. How are they going to play in June and July? And we're seeing it. They've regressed big time. And honestly, they actually look, at least fundamentally, this is the last thing I'll say, and then we come up with our comment. They fundamentally look like they did at the end of last year, where everyone's just kind of, they don't know where to be. They don't know when to go to the next base. They're hitting each other with baseballs. They don't know what's going on. So I'm rooting for this. I'm a big Yankees fan. Obviously, that's why we started this podcast. Jake, you are as well. What's
I see
going on?
Seth Halverson every time we do this show. He has got a lot of fans in our comment section. From the Rockies, he throws 102, I think.
I have absolutely no idea who Seth Halverson is.
I think he closed out the game that they beat the Yankees in.
That explains it. I was half asleep.
Well, it was the Rockies, to be fair. So
that series was literally watching paint dry. I don't think anybody enjoyed that series. We were, of course, underwhelming. The Yankees at the time told us it's just one game. You can lose to anybody. And sure enough, they've had no momentum since. Yeah. The highest, I think the highest high I've had the last 2 months was that series in Kansas City.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
At what point, by the way, Alex, and thank you for the super earlier as well and supporting.
Yes, thank you, Alex.
At what point does Anthony Volpe go up there with a regular bat? When do we start seeing that again?
I was just thinking
we continue this? Like, what are you going up there? You've been hitting 180 the last 100 at bats. That's a long time.
The Yankees are going to play on ESPN again soon. I don't remember when. How much you want to bet they bring up torpedo bats? They're dead. Like, no one cares about them. Anyone who actually knows baseball does not care. They've moved on to bigger and better things. ESPN, their guys will talk about it. They will have like a whole segment on it. It happens every time, I'm telling you. And
yeah, they're like, baseball, it's on our network. Yeah, they're probably still talking torpedo. So let's tee that up. Let's see. The last time we had baseball on here, who else was doing what? And then they just ride with that. Then they're going to interview one of our players. I'll tell you what. If any Yankee does an interview mid-game, they are kidding themselves.
It's like
No
somebody
interviews.
being like, "Oh, I'm a huge Justin Bieber fan, baby." You know that song? Like that was that was a while ago. Like, you know what I
do
mean?
know that song. It was only 16 years ago. Yeah, Jake.
Yeah.
So what do we want them to put in the comment section?
All right. Let's do this. Would you do the trade? Let's give Drew some credit here. If
do it.
Drew has some sources, right? Would you do this trade? And very simply put, if you would, put the players that you're willing to give up. Like the best package that you would give up to get Carlos Correa, Willie Castro, and Yohan Duran. I don't even know if I said his name right.
It's close enough. We know he throws 100. You know the guy.
Duran on Minnesota. So, so yeah. Drop in the comment section who you would give up, the best package that you would give up, and yeah, I think that's a good way to end it.
Yeah, make sure you guys subscribe. Hit that bell to be notified. We go live after every single game, regardless of how this ridiculous team plays. And of course, make sure you guys like the video.